Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour Podcast pregame episode. Of course, I'm Ray. I'm being joined today by the High Priest Psycrotes. How you doing today, brother? What's been up? I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, man. Well, the Lakers are 0-2, but other than that, I'm good.
The Lakers are 0-2. And what we're going to do is we're going to start clean off the gate with a lot of our fun stuff that we're doing exclusively for our pregame and our after party episodes.
The first fun thing we're going to do is turn this phone over so the High Priest can see.
Well, I'll put it over here because that can let me see the stream.
Right.
But pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with our Urban Dictionary term of the night, which the term of the night is CC is a slut. And CC is a slut is when a girl named CC is such a slut and fucks all these guys. And the definition is, wow, CC is such a slut. She has 4 guys waiting to get in her. And that is your Urban Dictionary term of the day. And the last
so does that mean that my tattoo is of a slut?
Oh,
CC?
yes. Actually, you have CC on your arm.
Right,
so, yeah. So you're such a slut, Psycrotes.
My mom and dad are both sluts. That's their initials. My dad, he did fuck a lot of thoughts. So.
And,
I may like some thoughties. If you wonder where I get it from.
So the last time you were here, we started a brand new segment. And that segment pretty much was Psycrotes the Genius Pafo, in which you would recite poems. So Psycrotes, what you're going to do is you have what? You have 1 or you have 2?
I'm going to do one. I'm going to do a bonus. So we'll go.
You're going to do a bonus for it too? Okay. All right.
Because I was going to do an old one, but I just wrote one yesterday. So
you just wrote, yeah. And every time Psycrotes joins us right here on the pregame episode, we are going to do the Psycrotes poem segment, which is Psycrotes. So Psycrotes, come on over this way a little bit more and let her rip. Go ahead and tell the people the poem.
Okay. Well, last time we did, I prank called a Make-A-Wish kid and told him I was John Cena. That's a tough one to top, but we can do a selection from that same chapter, that same volume. This is from 2015, I believe. And this is actually about a guy that I knew. And it's called You're Gay and Your Band Sucks.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is how it's going to start.
I'm not going to mention any names, but as I said, it's a fellow I used to know. I saw your guys' band the other night, and it was such a drag. You wear tight leather pants, and you sing like a fag. Your guitarist thinks he's cool because he can play the solo from Tornado of Souls. While you guys were doing your gig, I fucked your slutty little girlfriend in all 3 of her holes. You guys got free beer and pizza, and you think you got paid. I hope the only thing you ever have in common with Freddie Mercury is that you die of AIDS.
And now if anything hasn't gotten us canceled, that officially will. That poem should be called the cancellation of the Happy Hour Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that one goes out to my ex-buddy, and it's called, once again, You're Gay and Your Band Sucks.
So was your ex-buddy, was he actually in a band?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
He was a singer.
Okay, and was he actually gay?
No.
Okay. So I guess you hated him as much.
It's a takeoff of Anal Cunt. He just said, like, Anal Cunt, whenever he would write a song about somebody he didn't like, it was, anybody who listens to the Dillinger Escape Plan is gay. There was one called All Our Fans Are Gay.
Which, speaking of which, that is against the beliefs of the Happy Hour Podcast.
Of course.
We have a lot of awesome gay guests that we've had on. And also make sure you pick up our Pride merchandise, which is available on all the Happy Hour podcasts.
You know who the greatest gay guy of all time is?
Freddie Mercury in my mind.
He's up there.
Yeah.
I'm going Pat Patterson.
Oh yeah, Pat Patterson. I forgot about Pat.
It's hard to tell Pat.
And, okay, speaking of that, what kind of upsets me is the whole thing. Have you seen The Dark Side of the Ring with Canyon?
Yes.
Like,
that was one of my favorites because a lot of that really hit home with me because I have a lot of the same issues as he does. I'm not gay, obviously. But But that was a fucking James Mitchell, man. He had some stories, man. Talking about, were you going to shoot him? I was going to shoot him.
Well, it's funny because speaking of Canyon, like one of the last shows he did before he died was ACW with James Ellsworth. Right? Yeah, and I was on that show.
That's crazy.
And you would have never have thought in a million years that he would ever, think about, taking himself out or anything like that. But, hiding something like that, I'm kind of glad that we live in a society where people don't have to hide that kind of shit.
James Mitchell said, though, after he saw him for the last time, he called his wife and he was crying because he's like, I think he's going to really do it this
Yeah.
time. So he kind of told James Mitchell because they were really close.
Yeah.
But, he probably was hiding it well around everybody
Oh
else.
man, and see, here's the thing: what's like crazy with that, and you even bring up Pat Patterson. Like Pat Patterson, you're not fucking with Pat Patterson. Like it was well known that Pat Patterson was gay.
Yes.
But the thing is I heard that JBL actually was the one who spreaded that rumor. Like recently, like someone said that JBL was the one who spreaded that rumor and gave Canyon nothing that he was gay, around the locker room, and I think that's what incited that.
It wouldn't
that
surprise
Boy George
me because
thing.
JBL's known for being kind of a bully, but
yeah. But
well, I got it. There's other Dark Side of the Ring that I want to talk about, but before we do that, I got to do the other poem.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
We can't leave this segment.
Let it rip. Just offend the rest of the masses that are here
hanging
on YouTube land. It's a good thing that we left Facebook Live because
this one might not be quite as offensive. The one I just did, that was an older pick. This is a brand new one, hot off the presses from what's today? From October 22nd, 2021. And this one is called Love Bites.
Okay.
It's a love story, like Chris and Nancy, like Brian and Gabby, like Chester and the rope.
Oh no.
Like Katie in the bottle. She takes my hand and she leads me through the gates of hell. The wine is flowing. The wine is ubiquitous, but I can't taste it. There's a ring there. The ring is set up, but across from it stands Butch Hess. Mere heartbreak is not good enough for a lonely fellow like me. Mere heartbreak is not good enough for a lowly fellow like me. That one's for Love Bites.
Your constant slander of Butch Hess is unreal, and I don't know if Butch has ever seen this show, but the constant. I think every time you help me guest co-host, you say something slanderous against Butch Hess.
To be fair,
so there's no way he couldn't have seen it or heard about it, because I'm sure Corey Bush or somebody was bound to see one of our episodes that you were on, and he's like, yeah, and Butch is probably sitting there loading a shotgun, waiting to see Psycrotes again to take him out.
For the record, Butch, I like him as a person. He was always cool to me.
Yeah,
but I had to work him like 38 times. And I'm scarred.
Only 38?
Yes. It was a running gag. Like when I was going there every week with my mom, she's like, I bet you're going to have to work Butch this week. I'm like, yeah, I bet I am. But to be fair, that poem, it didn't explicitly slander Butch. All it said was, I was in hell. There was a ring set up.
And Butch was there.
And he was there.
Yeah. And you have to wrestle him. Could you imagine when you die, you're going to have to wrestle Butch Hess every day for the rest of your life.
An eternity match. Yeah. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to die, and St. Peter's going to be there at the gates.
Yeah.
And the ring's going to be set up in heaven. I'm like, oh shit. I'm going to look in there. You know who's going to be standing there? Benoit and Eddie. I'm like, oh shit, I got a three-way with Benoit. And
I'm
Eddie.
in heaven. How did I get here?
But then the ring just drops, and it gets very dark. And it's no longer Benoit and Eddie.
Yeah.
It's Butch Hess.
It's Butch Hess. And for those of you watching at home, make sure you go look up some Butch Hess matches. You will be thoroughly impressed with the un in front of it. And
I told the story on here I had posted a joke on Facebook a while back when I was still on there, and I didn't name him or anything, but it was something about how I had to work with like the worst wrestler of all time. And literally like 2 minutes later, he messaged me.
Oh no!
And he didn't, like, I could tell he knew it was about him.
Yeah,
but he didn't say anything. He's like, "Hey man, what's up? I haven't talked to you in a while."
When you talked about it on the podcast,
I think I did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And he's like, "How you been, man?" I'm like, "Great. How you been?" He's like, "Good."
Jesus Christ! That's the thing, Psycrotes. It's like. And that's the thing. The views and opinions of Psycrotes do not reflect the Happy Hour podcast. Psycrotes, I love you to death, but Jesus Christ, man, like that's almost as bad. And we're not going to say what it was, but the first episode, I had to thoroughly,
you had to do seven edits.
Yes, I had to do 7 edits because of Psycrotes calling people out for random different things in the wrestling business, and I'm just kind of like, Jesus Christ.
You know what my favorite line of that whole thing was, though? Is for some reason it popped the shit out of Blood. When I started talking about Al Snow, and Blood's like, I like Al Snow.
Yeah, he's like, what did Al Snow do?
I was like, oh, Al Snow. Oh, he's got a head. Fuck you. And Blood just like loses it.
Yeah.
You know what, Blood? You weren't there though. the time I
For
saw
the podcast?
no,
I was definitely there for that.
no, you're not Mike Blair. You were there.
Oh.
No, we were. You ever been to Fatty's?
Yeah,
right here in Essex.
I think so. I might have been. I'm
Blood,
not sure.
Me, Blood, and Hijinks went there after an EWA show.
Hijinks went with it.
And then some chick, because they had karaoke, and I guess they wanted to do karaoke, so he went there.
Yeah.
And Hijinks was telling a story about when he was doing his mime gimmick. What was his
name?
John LeBon.
John LeBon. I worked him as John. It's one of my favorite matches of all time. Hijinks, if you happen to see this, that was one of my favorite matches of all time. And that was at the point in my career when everybody in EWA I had worked, and Hijinks was the only guy that I didn't work. And it was right when I started doing my Mr. Happy Hour gimmick, and it was just starting to get over. And he did such a great way of getting it over. And I remember my old tag partner Wes. He told me that the best part of that match is that at some point John slides out of the ring and he goes to get an imaginary drink of water. So he walks up to an imaginary jug and he's putting water in it and he's drinking that. And I'm going after him and he's like shooing me away and all that. And then like I turn him around and he throws the imaginary water on me. And the way I sold the imaginary water before, like I chased him around the ring for the cat and mouse, Wes said was like one of the greatest things. He's like, you couldn't have been paid to do that any better than me selling the imaginary water that got thrown in my face.
But no, the story is we were at Fatty's and Hijinks was telling the story about when he worked Mia Yim.
Okay.
And he was doing his mime gimmick. And like he went up to her before the match and just joking around. He's like, you never forget your first mime. And Blood just fucking loses it. Like he literally goes over, he's like, Hijinks, you motherfucker, fuck you. Fuck you, Blood. You know how Blood gets. Fuck you, Hijinks. And he just, literally, we're there for like another 2 hours. And the rest of the night, Blood's just fucking losing it. Because he keeps saying, you never forget your first mime. I'm like, Blood, are you okay? Hijinks is like, it wasn't that funny, was it? Blood's just losing it. I'm like, you know what, Blood? I love you, Blood.
I love Blood because the smallest thing like that would pop Blood, and that be that. Like once you pop Blood with something like that, it's at the point of no return. Like that. Yeah.
You know what though? I find it slightly offensive that I am offensive because of a poem about you're gay and your band sucks and the other way reference Butch Hess, when I have not made one reference yet today to fucking any dead girl's corpse.
Oh Jesus. Well, there it is. Now, you have now officially changed that. You had now officially brought it up.
It should be noted that second poem, Love Bites.
Yes.
There was a reference to two different chicks in that poem that I talked about fucking their corpses, but neither one I talked about actually fucking the corpse in the poem. So I think it's like PG-13.
Because see, here's the thing. Probably while you were writing the poem, you were probably masturbating vigorously. Like, I don't know if anybody saw our live broadcast last night, but my name 3 was name 3 places where you don't want to be caught masturbating when we were live with Jimmy Starr. And that's the thing. Psycrotes doesn't want to be called in his room while writing a poem about a band. Right yeah, you want to name 3? Go ahead.
Okay. Mike and Kim's bedroom.
Okay.
Not that that's ever happened to us. I think we've actually told that on the podcast.
Yes, we have.
Mike and Kim's bedroom. Oof. Next to a church.
Okay.
I live next to a church.
Yes. So really, anytime you masturbate is kind of next to a church.
I may or may not have actually done it next to outside the church. And my friend John's car.
Oh.
We were waiting in line for Metallica tickets.
Oh.
Like 20-something years ago. So we went to the old mall in Hartford County, Hartford Mall.
Yeah.
Because it was like the kind of thing where they'd open at like 7 a.m. and you get in line. Because this is back when, you actually had to get in line to get tickets. You couldn't just go online and everything. So it was when Metallica was playing at M&T Bank the first time. So we go and we stayed overnight so we could get in line early. So I told my friend Sam, because I was drunk as fucking high. And I told my friend Sam, I was like, dude, I'm tired. Here, take my money and you get my ticket. You guys go in line. I'm just going to stay in the car.
Yeah.
So I'm in the car, in the back seat. It's like 7 a.m. I've been up the whole night. I was like 19 at the time. And, I felt the urge because I was a horny young man. So my friend John came back to the car to get something out of the car. And he's like, Psycrotes, what are you doing? He's like, are you jerking off in the back seat? I was like, yes, John, I am. And as of now, I've actually gotten more action in this car than you ever have.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's
Because and there was another time remember you ever got Hot Shots, the old pool hall?
Yeah.
We were at Hot Shots one time, and his brother Greg was fucking his girlfriend in the back seat while we were in there shooting pool. So he got more action in there more than John. John Brown, oh God. don't ever talk about
and
John on this
and
podcast.
real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but shout out to Sheriff Pint Podcast. Jerry, he's watching live. I see him in the live feed,
Yeah,
and he was talking about that's when things went off rail last night. Was when we got into the games, which is normally when things do go off the rails. Things always go off the rails with the Happy Hour Podcast. Of course, make sure you subscribe. Our extra YouTube content, the pregame episodes and the after party episodes will always have more vulgarity and more off the wall shit than what we will for our regular episodes that we are recording to air on Spotify, Heart, and all that. So if you want to hear more demeaning things than what we normally talk about, make sure you hit that subscribe button right there at the bottom of the corner where it says subscribe, and subscribe to the Happy Hour Podcast, and it will let you know whenever we go live.
And that's the exclusive place to hear the High Priest poetry.
Yes, exclusive to hear the High Priest
It's
poetry.
also exclusive where I sing for the people. I did that last time. There's a new Amity song out, so I got to sing it for the people.
The Urban Dictionary term of the night, that is exclusively on that. So, and a lot of times, sometimes our guests, like for example, Jimmy Starr, hung out for a good while last night. Jimmy Starr is very cool. The wrestler. That Jimmy Starr is awesome. Jimmy Starr, the actor and the promoter, is cool. However, Jimmy Starr's the wrestler, I hope gets ran over by 50 cars in the middle. I hope he wrecks his car into like the back of an 18-wheeler and at least 78 cars behind it. Just keep on running into that one car, and there's nothing left of that man. That is how much I hate that guy.
Here's the thing.
And I don't have a heat with a lot of people.
You know what I said about
fuck that guy.
You know what I said about Butch? I like him as a person, but I hate him as a worker. Jimmy Stars, I like him as a worker, but I hate him as a person. So it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
But I was going to sing the new Amity song, and then Jimmy Stars distracted me. Fuck Jimmy Stars. I bet Jimmy Stars doesn't even know the new Amity song. He probably doesn't even know it.
Probably.
Jason Drake does. He's down with it. He knows what's up.
So.
Drop it on the tongue, like, whoa.
Now I remember one thing that stood out 100% when we were on the road one time, and we haven't talked about this on one of our War Pigs episodes. I'm not sure if you were with us or whatever, but there was one time that me, Blood, and somebody, we were talking about weird stuff on the way home, and we got on the subject of sock puppet porn or Muppet porn, on what it would be like, like pretty much like someone, like pretty much like Mr. Sacco. Like someone would have like Mr. Sacco in their hand and just start vigorously like jerking, like Mr. Sacco is blowing them because it's the Sacco in their hand with like the mouth, and it's like blah, 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 like, I mean, just imagine, like and now I'm curious. I want to look up sock Muppet porn.
It exists.
And see if it exists.
Rule 34. I exists. There is porn.
I have the internet right here. So let's see, sock puppet porn.
Mr. Sacco.
All right, let's see videos. It exists. It exists. YouTube puppet porn. It's on YouTube. You can find puppet porn on YouTube. Really? Yes.
Well, I guess technically it's not real porn.
So
puppets, right?
Socks getting it on. One of them is sock porn. Socks getting it on. So all right, So it exists. And then it says the man show had it. The Man Show, episode 52, right. Sock puppet porn. Yep. Oh man, the man.
Speaking of shows that couldn't be on nowadays.
Oh, dude.
Did you see the Man Show in 2021?
Yeah, the Man Show was so fucking great and so ahead of its time too. Like, it's insane. But
Speaking of porn, we were talking about Dark Side of the Ring. Did you see the one this week about XPW?
No, I'm a couple episodes behind. The last episode I saw was the one with Canyon.
Okay. Oh, this isn't going since then. They had the Bruiser Bedlam one. They had Nita. But the one this week, I was laughing because I'm sure you've heard about XPW. It was Rob Black, the porn guy that started it. But he had the porn girls will be on the shows and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, when I got in the business, my dream fed that I wanted to always work for was ECW. Yeah. I never got to because they went out of business. Well, that's
the thing. I would have loved to work for ECW, but I was able to get afforded the chance of working the ECW arena at least 5 or 6 times, which, to me, that was well enough. I'll never be able to wrestle in the Baltimore arena or, anything like that, close to us, but I was at least able to work in the Hollow Halls and also take part of the Wrestler movie, which was shot in the ECW arena as well.
Is that your favorite venue you've ever worked in?
Yes. Without question. That to me, like that holds a lot of regard to me because, I was able to work in a venue where so many great guys were, pretty much Stone Cold, Eddie Guerrero,
Everybody.
Benoit, all those guys before they were huge names, where they got to work. They got to work, in that venue,
Well, at one point, I mean, other than maybe Madison Square Garden, that was probably the most famous wrestling arena in the world.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I feel the ECW arena is without question up there with like the Boston Garden and MSG and all that.
Now,
Like you said, like no one knows it as the new Albahara Arena or whatever it was. Everybody, it will always be known as the ECW Arena.
Now, I've never been there. I've heard stories. Like obviously, it's great for the history and everything, but I've heard it's like a complete shithole as an actual venue.
Yeah,
is that true?
I mean, when I was there, they've updated it a lot over time.
Okay.
But I
think
was
talking about it from like the '90s. So they probably updated it since then.
I feel like that the ECW Arena then was kind of like, if you remember one EWA venue that was in the grocery store and the bathroom, like the one scene out of Saw, and it was like 800 degrees in there, and then there was a man living in the refrigerator.
You know what I loved about that place? Yeah. You walked into there,
you never knew what you were walking into.
You had that bathroom. You had a bunch of kids doing a karate school. You had random guys lifting weights. And they just had a wrestling ring.
Yeah,
it's like such a weird dichotomy.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was,
and now it's a Dollar General.
Is it always a Dollar General?
Yeah, it's a Dollar General. Like I sit there and look, I'm like, I bled all over this building. Like,
and the guy who owned the place was a pedophile.
Yes.
But no, what I was going to say was,
why do you think the one guy lived in a freezer?
Right.
Because you're not going to hear screams coming out of a fucking. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a freezer in a grocery store, but I used to help out at a grocery store. I used to get credits for high school.
I used to smoke weed in the milk freezer at Gershbeck when I worked there.
Oh, dude, they would never know.
They never knew. My buddies just smoking there. You know what we did when we would work the nights and the weekends? We'd go in the milk room, load it up, and smoke weed.
The milk room. Let's go to the milk room.
But then we go out front behind the building, and we hit on like 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Now we were like 16, so it wasn't bad. I'm not. But no, what I was going to say was, my dream was work for ECW. But XPW would have been perfect for me.
Yeah.
Because XPW was a combination of death matches and thoughts. That's what it was. It was death matches and a porn guy that had thoughts on his show. But no, you said your favorite was the ECW arena.
Yes.
I got to think what mine
is.
Actually, I never got to work there.
Mine's a mix, and this is an odd combination. Mine's a mix of the ECW arena, but also JD Bywriters. In Glen Burnie. Okay. And that was an outdoor venue. And a lot of people don't.
You worked cold there.
Yeah, I worked out in cold there. And I won the Maryland title for the first time there. Okay. So that's why I kind of like that venue, is because that's where I won my first championship in the business. But also it was because while you were in your match, you were sitting there thinking to yourself, is a tragic accident going to happen on 8th Avenue? Because there was active traffic going this way. The ring was here, and there was traffic going by the dealership like this, and there were so many accidents that almost happened because of that.
Well, you gotta think, if you're just driving down the road and you look to your left and you see like a giant Samoan and a guy in tights, like what's going on here?
What's happening? Or when I was Gotham, like the way Gotham would look, and it's like, or me and Blood fighting in the back of the U-Haul or something like that.
Was that where you guys fought in the U-Haul?
Yeah. That was the one when he went to backdrop me in the back, and I was like, oh God, and I went to bail because it wasn't going to happen. And I'm like,
my favorite venue, man. There's got to be a couple. I got to say Teamsters.
Okay.
Because that was where
I've never worked there. So
the thing that was cool about Teamsters for me was that was where I started going to indie shows as a fan.
Okay.
And that was when they had, New Jack, Sabu, all those guys. Yeah, but then I got to actually work there when I started from WWF. So it was cool to actually work there after going as a fan. So I'd say Teamsters number one. You know what venue I really loved, and you've been there, because it was almost like a miniature real arena, the Ranson Civic Center.
Oh yeah.
That was almost
that was where we did AWO, and I worked there.
John Ram was there too, but that was almost like a miniature real arena.
What's funny? The only time in my career I ever worked Butch Hess
was there.
It was a four-way. It was a four-way. It was me, Butch Hess, somebody else, and one of Samu's trainees. And that was the match when the dude randomly ran and hit the ropes for no reason. And you see it clear as like he ran and he hit the ropes and then he didn't do anything. And it was just kind of like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, why did he do that? Like, I don't understand.
Your favorite post-show venue has to be the strip club in the guy's trailer.
No, mine was legs. It's without question legs. Like, I don't think anything can compare to legs. Like,
but no, my favorite. God, let me think real quick. My favorite venue has to be, my top three would be Teamsters, Ranson Civic Center, and this one just because it's funny. We did a show at the Cecil County Farm Fair one year.
Farm Fair?
It was me and this guy named Cross against Lunar and DJ. and they had it was middle of summer, so it was literally like 100 degrees that day.
Okay.
And you had the ring set up right next to the cow pen.
Oh,
so
no.
the smell of the cow shit was just wafting through.
Oh.
And it was so hot. I'm sure you've been on outdoor shows where it's so hot that when you bump the ring, you burn yourself.
Yeah.
So we were the first match. We were going like 6 minutes. So Dan, of course, wants to get into his technical stuff. Dan and Cross get in to do their shit. Dan tags DJ, Cross tags me. Me and DJ get in. We're not doing all that shit.
Yeah.
It's 100 degrees. There's cow shit wafting over. You know what we did? We had a dance off.
Yeah.
We had a dance off, which I won, by the way. We did some classic heel shit where, he pulled my hair. Ref, he pulled the hair. And then I just started beating the fuck out of him. Because, when you're wrestling your best friend, you just beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah, you just beat the dog shit out.
We had a good match. That was a cool venue. Just because it was.
It's an honorable mention. The Apollo Theater.
Oh, and Martinsburg.
That was a cool. And the reason why I say that is because there's not really too many wrestling shows or wrestling events where you get to wrestle on a theater stage.
Right.
That was always unique.
You felt like you had a Shakespeare play.
Yeah, you had like the theater seating that went back, and you had the ring up on the stage, but you had that couple of rows of fans that were on the stage with the ring. And every time I was like, this is West Virginia. Right. There's a lot of fat people in this crowd. So when you take the weight capacity of all these people, plus the weight of the ring, plus my weight, plus his weight, plus his weight, plus his weight, if it's a tag match, this stage is probably going to collapse. And was Apollo Theater where Awkward Dan broke the ropes?
No, that was at the school.
That was at the school?
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, Apollo Theater, two funny things about that real quick. That building was so old.
Yeah.
One time we were
it looked old as shit.
I think I heard it was built in like 1920 or something.
Oh, man.
Me and Blood were fighting outside the ring, and Blood whipped me into the wall. And when I hit the wall, a piece of the wall just fucking fell on the floor. So I picked it up. It's about this big. I still have it at my house. I have a piece of the Apollo Theater at my house. Literally, I kept it. But the other funny thing about that venue,
like some people have pieces of the Pontiac Silverdome.
Right.
Some people have pieces of Shea Stadium.
I've got
Psycrotes has a piece of the Apollo Theater, which nobody at home has ever heard of before.
If it was the Apollo Theater in Harlem, that would be something. The Apollo Theater in Martinsburg. Another funny story about that place. We did a show in the summer there. You knew that place had no air conditioning, you remember?
Yeah.
We did a show in the summer there one time, and we literally drew like 20 people. And Rambo got so mad, he just left. He took a fucking booking sheet and threw it at me and Corey and said, "You guys put the fucking
I remember that. You brought it up one day. Yeah.
But it was funny because my mom was at that show, and there was like 20 people there. We did a battle royal, a Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And it was, like a real 20-something guy rumble. The first two guys, because me and Corey booked the show, because Rambo left.
Yeah.
He left. So we booked the show. Me and Marcus were the first two guys out. Because of course, I love Marcus, my favorite opponent. So me and Marcus 1 and 2. But I was in that match for the whole match. It was 100 degrees. So what I did was I pulled the Lawler. I went under the ring and I pulled the apron down. Yeah. And I literally hit under the ring for like 20 minutes. And then I came back out. I remember my mom was like, "What were you doing under the ring?" I was like,
"Where'd you go?"
I was trying to catch my breath. I almost sweated that.
That was almost as bad as
there's 3 guys in that match that are dead now.
Really?
Yes. Rev. Remember Rev? Older guy used to do the Rev gimmick. He came out with the preacher gimmick.
Kind of, sort
of.
He
was a cool ass guy. He passed away. The fellow Luttrell, the guy that died at Bonebreakers.
Okay.
And there's another guy. I can't remember the third one, but yeah, there's 3 guys that match that passed away. And I'm not one of them.
Wow.
I'm not one of them. But Rev was a great guy. He was so cool. Dude, that guy, he never started wrestling until he was in his 50s. But he was so easy to work with.
I think I remember.
Yeah, he knew his limit. He was over. People liked him because he had the gimmick, and he could, for what he was, he could work. I loved working Rev. It was basic shit, but people liked it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like a lot of times, and that's what I did. Like if I went somewhere and I didn't know, who I was working or how good that they were, I always just did basic shit. Right. Because it's like, a lot of guys will go out there and work a guy they've never met before and do all kinds of crazy shit and end up getting hurt. And it's like that's not the prerogative to use. That's not, the way to do things because you're going to end up fucking yourself up and you're going to end up being fucked up for like
the rest
of your career.
Why is Jerry Lawler still able to wrestle at 72?
Yeah,
because he didn't have to do shit. He was so fucking over. He knew how to work, pull a strap down, throw some punches.
Yeah,
that's all he had to do.
Yeah, that's all he ever had to do.
Yep.
Like,
and the guy's still working at 73.
But see, here's the thing though, like with that, you do that whole thing that less has always been more. Yep. And the whole thing is Jerry Lawler does that. A lot of people might kind of be like, oh, well, that's boring, but guess what? right here in the palm of his hand is the crowd.
Oh yeah,
that's the whole
dude.
thing.
He got a bigger pop for pulling the strap down than most people get for doing a fucking 450 off the roof.
How many times has Jerry Lawler over times has reached down in his pants and the fans be like, he's reaching for something. And he'd pull his hand back out. He'd be like, I don't have anything. Shut up. You know, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I feel like, you know, when Jerry Lawler came in 93, the ball so bad on Jerry Lawler. I feel like he probably could have easily been in the main event picture.
He could have been a heel. He would have been a great heel world champion. Yeah, I'd have put the belt on him. Him and Brett was amazing. The little bit they got to do together.
Yeah,
the kiss my foot match, and when he was talking shit about Helen and Stu.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. And Lawler was what, probably in his 40s then or something like that. Like, you know, but I mean that's the thing. So he probably didn't want to wrestle like a full-time schedule.
Yeah, that's true. Because they also wanted to do commentary. So
yeah, but I mean no, dude, and I mean momentarily what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting our regular episode, which will air on Spotify, iHeart, Apple, wherever you find your podcasts. Momentarily, in about 3 minutes, and Sadie Katz will also be coming in to join us as our special featured guest.
What's up? I was going to say, we did a few shows for APW at Cookie's Bar and Grill in Martinsburg.
Okay,
and it was just a tiny ass little bar. It was the middle of winter. So everybody had to get changed out in the ring truck. Oh. So we had one little space heater, and you got 20 fucking guys crowding around a space heater trying to get changed. So you know what I did the next show? I wore my gear under my clothes to the show. So everybody else is out there. I went in there and just drank at the bar until my match. Because you know.
I mean, that's the thing. Look at how many times Blood left the show with his gear on.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the thing. We would show up as Sheets, and Blood would order a sandwich with blood dried up on his head, wearing his furry pants and his boots, and people would be like, is this guy going to murder everybody in this? I wish I still had it, but I had a video of Blood.
I remember the one time we went to Legs. You were with us.
Yeah.
And Blood had hardwood cheese grater that night. So my head was all fucked up.
Yeah.
And the one chick there that I always used to get a dance from, you know, she's like sitting on my lap or whatever, and she's holding my head. She's like, what happened to your head? I was like, oh, this son of a bitch here cut me up with a cheese grater. She's like, what's wrong with you? Why did you hurt him like that?
Why would you hurt this man?
That was the one that Kevin Nash stole from me.
Oh,
that bastard. Fucking Kevin Nash. Just because you're 7 foot tall and you were in WWE and NWO.
So
you would have steal the high priest. Bitch.
So now there's the heat with
now that me and Al Snow are cool, I might have to bring old Kevin Nash next time and have a few words with him.
It's like Kevin Nash. We need to have some words, you son of a bitch.
He never stole my move though. I'll give him that. He never stole my finish. Yeah. Could you imagine Kevin Nash doing my move?
Could you imagine you doing Kevin Nash's move? Could you imagine you jackknife power bombing the Giant? Like that's
I was gonna say,
Psycrotes jackknife power bombing the Giant.
Power bomb people, but they were like Brandon Scott, not the Giant.
Brandon Scott before the Brandon Scott we know today.
Before he got on the gas.
Brandon Scott, the skinny Brandon Scott.
Brandon Scott.
Like, oh man, but.
Allegedly, I didn't say allegedly on the
gas. And there's Sadie there, so I'm gonna go ahead and admit her in. So, ladies and gentlemen, this will conclude our pregame episode. So we're going to continue right here on YouTube Live and roll right into our regular weekly episode, which will be featured on all major podcast platforms in its audio form. And that will be with our special featured guest, Sadie Katz. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. We're going to go ahead and get ready to start the regular audio form of the podcast and roll through. If you want to hang out for a little bit afterwards, we normally do like a pregame thing, which we're finishing up with. You can hang out a little bit afterwards too if you want. It's completely
sure. You have me till 2:00, and then I gotta sit down. Is that good?
Fine. That's fine. All right, cool. And we're going to go ahead and roll right into it.
Well, we just like time travel. It's 4:00.
Well, she's on the West Coast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. Of course, I'm Ray. I'm here with Psycrotes this week, and our very special featured guest, Sadie Katz. Of course, it's still Halloween time. It's spooky season here. Of course, we had Jimmy Starr on last night, which I was amused by all of the stuff he had in the background in his office. It was insane. And Sadie, I can't remember offhand what exactly he told me it was, but he said you have something coming up. I believe it's something with a band, like a music video, something that you have coming up. What exactly is that?
Well, I'm super stoked because Jimmy and I are working together on it, which is like amazing because I love him so much. But the band Testaments is going to be involved in a movie that we're doing called The Beast Inside. That is directed by Jim Towns, who also wrote the script. And it's this amazing, it's so scary. It's an exorcism movie.
Okay.
But the fun kind of hook on it is that the woman that I'm playing is Anne, is possessed by a demon inside her, as happens, that she inherited from her mother, who her mother inherited from her father, and she is trying to get rid of the beast inside her before it gets passed on to her son, her young son. So after exhausting all her options, she realizes that she has to do the exorcism on herself. So
Okay.
that's the kind of crux of the movie, but it's very scary.
Yeah, and of
I
course,
just to see Testament.
yeah,
Thrash metal
yeah.
legends.
Hearing that Testament's going to
Yeah.
be in that, that's pretty fucking cool. And you've been you're a scream queen. I mean, just looking at a lot of your stuff, you did Wrong Turn 6, which I believe Wrong Turn is getting ready to do a remake, or they already have done a remake. And it's funny because Wrong Turn, I was kind of thinking about this, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with the wrestling world, but Wrong Turn, the main character in Wrong Turn, the skinny guy with the blonde hair, looks just like James Ellsworth. Exactly like him. Like, I
So he
swear to
has no
God,
chin?
like he has just that long scraggly hair that he has
Right.
as the main character. And how was it taking apart in the whole Wrong Turn franchise? And I mean, just, those are movies where like the brutality is like next level. You sit there, you think of The Hills Have Eyes, when you see the Wrong Turn movies. And I mean, they've went on, and I'm not sure how I really kind of feel from the trailer about the remake, because it looks like they're kind of, putting a little bit of a different flavor on it. I'm like, I kind of hope they don't head that way with that. But the first 6 that came out, they were amazing. So how was it being a part of that?
Well, it's funny that you said the new one, because I think you're right. Like the new one, they decided to make it, sort of PC and, like these horror films that have like political statements. But you're right. Like Wrong Turn is, first of all, the bad guy always wins.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing. And people like love to hate it and hate to love it. And there's all this debate online, but I'm like, it's in a sense, like it knows what it is. It's, crazy kills, sex, and the kills are, you're right. Like to me, one of the things when I got the script is they didn't write how people were dying. Like they didn't write the actual kill, because that's, they don't want to give it away. So one of the actors in ours was having they stuck a hose in his ass and it exploded.
Nice.
And he never told us. Like we ended up all telling each other when we were in Bulgaria for a month, and he never said a damn thing about it, which was hilarious. And that was the whole thing. We had the premiere of it at the Scream Fest, and in Los Angeles, and everyone like cheered when he was killed that way. Like they were thrilled by that. And it doesn't seem to me like Hills Have Eyes. It has violence, but it's not as comedic. Not that I have a problem with the movie or anything, but like Wrong Turn, there's a bit of like just extreme, silly, goofy violence. I got to smother someone with my vagina, so that was a great delight for me. And what was so funny is they got nervous about it for Valeri, who was the director. His English is broken, and everyone had a lot of broken English, but and they were lovely. But he was like, is 20th Century Fox gonna let this go?
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of talk about that. And then they're like, well, let's give you white granny panties. So at least it's a little less. Then the producers come on and go, I'm getting too nervous. So they're like, okay, well, suffocate him with the pillow, and then you got to ride on top of the pillow. So I was like, all right. I mean, so it's like these weird things, and it's kind of a shame because when you change that franchise,
Yeah.
these kind of movies don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Whether you love them or hate them, they're kind of fun to hate. You know, like it's that series that is like, you know, like Chucky. You don't want Chucky to stay like Chucky. You don't want
whatever that bullshit was that they released that movie of that I didn't even watch it due to the trailers.
The new Chucky?
The only thing that made that movie worth it was Audrey Plaza, and that was it. Other than that, like I didn't even fuck with it. But I heard I haven't seen any of it yet.
Crossover with NXT next week for Halloween.
Are they really? Well, that's. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the movie that came out. I heard the new show.
Oh,
I haven't seen any of the
yes,
show
I'm
yet.
talking about.
I heard the show is 100. Like it is great, and I heard that they also
TV show.
Yeah, the TV show it's on Sci-Fi, and I heard that pretty much that Jennifer Tilly came back as Tiffany, and the son is in it as well. They had like at the end of the episode, they showed up. I haven't seen any of it yet. I gotta watch it. Of course, it's available on Sci-Fi's YouTube page and on their app, so you can watch them on that. Because I cut the cord on cable, so I can't see any of that. And what you just brought up with them changing it, we discussed this a little bit last night with Jimmy too. Is that recently with and my jam is Friday the 13th. And I mean, I got all kinds of like,
oh my gosh,
scary stuff on my arms. I want to have like, a whole horror montage going up this arm, going down and like around with like everything there. And, my fear is that now that Victor Miller has the franchise, Victor Miller has said he doesn't like the adult form of Jason. And if he makes a movie that doesn't involve Jason wearing a hockey mask, brutally killing people, it's going to fall on its ass. Oh, really? Because that's what people go to those movies for. I liked the original Friday the 13th. I liked the second one when he wore the sack on his head, but the series became what it was in part 3 when he put on the hockey mask. And from that point forward, that's all it was. All you need to do is just add senseless killing, and that's all you need for Friday the 13th. But it's so stupid. And I saw a comment earlier that people were like, do you think all this political correctness and, all that stuff's going to end the horror movie franchise, or it's going to harm the horror movie franchise? Oh yeah, it is. The horror movie industry is going to be hurt just like everything else is being hurt by all this, stuff that's going on. And, it's insane. Just like you were also in the Amityville Harvest, right? Which was crazy, which, that has a vampire in it, and that's the thing. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching some of it. I'm like, this has a fucking vampire, like, and I sit there and I hear that, and you see the poster for it, and he has the fangs, but I sit there and I think about it, I'm like, man, kind of with the, and I mean, I like the movie. The movie was pretty decent, but it was one of those kinds of things I feel like the Amityville did not need a vampire. Like, that's just the whole thing. I'm just kind of like,
these things are like, I agree. If you love Amityville, you're going to be pissed sometimes if you rent the movie. And a lot of that is like distributors. And so I have mixed feelings. I'm in the movie and I'm grateful to be in it. But I do understand when I get mail where people go, what the hell is this? But I agree. Like, horror movies are like, I've read this a lot about people who watch horror movies tend to have anxiety, and the horror movies help them. And they're also, horror films are fun because they enjoy being what they are. And like, it's popcorn movies. They're fun, crazy movies. So when you start interjecting like life lessons, and you're like, why are you preaching to me on a movie that honestly is really violent? So it's like, I don't really understand what that's about, and they never do well. Those aren't classics.
It really is.
The Mask, it's not a classic anymore.
I mean, there's and I mean, our good buddy Jerry from the Share Pipe podcast, he co-hosted with us last night with Jimmy, and he brought up a good quote that Jimmy said last night: to stop remaking movies. Too many people don't have any more original ideas, which, I understand with Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, all that, because they have literally, and even John Carpenter has said himself, that they have become the Wolfman, the Mummy, and Dracula of my generation, of your generation. We're about the same age. So, of our generation.
How dare you, sir? But you're totally right.
That's the whole thing. Our generation, has, them as that. But then you also have a lot of these newer movies that, like, for example, for me, Terrifier. That to me, like, that was something that was new, and it had that whole
so scary. That movie is scary, legit.
But to me, it's like, what's more scary, Michael Myers or Art the Clown. Like me, I grew up terrified of Stephen King's It. It ruined Bozo the Clown for me. I used to scream every time I would watch Bozo the Clown after my parents made me watch It.
Did you not listen to the Insane Clown Posse anymore?
Like clowns were done.
I hated the new It.
Then you had to work for it.
I think I was alone on that, but I was like, when I went to see it at the theater with a bunch of horror people in the horror world, and I was sitting there and I was like, I loved when I was a kid that, and what's the one of if you give me what I want, I'll go away. Storm of the Century.
Oh yes, yes.
Epic. They were so good. And the new one, I just went, why are you changing it? Like,
Yeah.
you know, why did you make the clown have all the CGI? Like,
Yeah.
that's what was so scary. I agree 100%. And you know, they say that there's no good ideas, but I'm a writer, and like,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things I said to Jim Townsend when we were talking about doing The Beast Inside, so I was like, you know what hasn't been done as an exorcism movie? No one has had to give themselves an exorcism. I'm like, that's kind of a spin on the whole thing. So that was a lot of the discussion. And even when we would try to bring in someone to help her, you know, writing wise, we would go back and I'd be like, she has to be responsible for it, whether it works or it doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
So that's my crazy dog.
And no, it's fine. It's fine. But one thing, and I'm not sure if you've seen Halloween Kills yet, but I've watched it 4 times already. I've already bought the costume to beat Michael Myers because I have Peacock, so you know it came free on Peacock.
And
But
the best thing is there's a new ghost song on the soundtrack.
yeah, there's a new Ghost song on the album. But also
Did you like it? Did you love it?
I liked it. I liked as a horror, but of course I came up with Jason and all that. Like a lot of people, they don't like, and you know, I don't want to spoil anything because you haven't seen it yet, but a lot of people don't, but I think a lot of people forget that it's a middle movie. It's a middle of a story arc, you know, so 2018 happened, this picks up right after, and then the next one picks up right after that. So this is a middle movie.
Oh, it's not that. So which this is Buffy the cat. The cat is shorter. Sorry, she's so loud. So it's not a continuation of the last one?
It is. It's a direct.
The last one was in the middle too, right?
No, the last one, see, the way that they're doing it is they want you to be able to watch the 1978 original, then watch the 2018, the one that came out, then watch this one, and then watch the next one, which comes out next year, all in sequence, and it's all continuity as it goes through. And one thing that I liked is they had 1978 flashbacks. They did new stuff because they didn't really ever explain how Michael Myers got apprehended or, you know, anything like that from 2018 when that movie happened. So they kind of back routed a little bit to 78 and like redid like the 78 look of Michael, and it's super cool. But a lot of people are saying that with the Halloween movie, and I'm not sure if you heard this, but they said that just based off of a certain scene in the movie that Michael Myers is homophobic. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, but see, here's the thing. It's a horror movie and it's a slasher movie. They're going to kill anybody. They don't care who they are or whatever. But
the black guy does usually die first.
Yeah, well, I mean, but see, here's the whole thing though, is it's like, you know, they don't care, but also that sequence that happened was probably one of the best sequences in the movies. That the characters they played, there's 2 characters named Big John, Little John. They were the 2 best. I laughed so hard in that movie and I'm like, that was the best part. I'm like, but however, if they wanted to put that in there and he wanted to kill them, there'd be a cry, oh, well, there's no,
there's no representation. You know what? I get really pissed when I hear things like that because I'm like, hold on. We blondes and we women, scream queens, have been running through the forest, getting in trouble for having sex and being sliced and diced and threatened to be raped. And you know what? It's not like, wow, these people hate men. You know, there's also, I mean, hate women. There's also a thing of them actually, I think, it's like, you know, those women also win if you think of Scream and everything. So I believe that because I feel like nowadays you offend everybody. No matter what you do, it's offensive. A cartoon is offensive if it.
I mean,
right? So I say ignore everybody. Like the Twitter makes it louder because someone writes something on Twitter and then every news article
Oh, yeah.
shares it.
I think that's why the independent films are gonna take over
Oh,
and
yeah.
do better, because you can do what you want. It's
Yeah,
like
you
you got
can-
a big studio telling you, oh, you can't do
Yeah.
this, you can't do that.
Yeah, without question. And the whole thing is, I think people forget that Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, all of them had women survivors. Every single one. Nancy and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mhm.
Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode and Halloween, and countless Jason movies where they had a girl as the survivor who survived the killer. And it's like, are you guys forgetting what's going on here? Like, that's making a show that, okay, women are a lot smarter than men. Yes, some of them may have died, but this one was smart enough to survive. Meanwhile, this idiot over here was too worried about this, and he ended up getting a party horn stuck through his eyeball. Like, and I mean, that's the whole thing. It's just a slippery slope, but I just keep on saying, pump it out, and keep on making horror to me. I've always loved horror. My wife's never been a huge horror fan, but as soon as I watched Halloween, as soon as it came on to Peacock, 12 midnight, watched it as soon as it came on. And one thing I did notice that you did bring up is sex and horror movies. Sex and horror movies, it's kind of like a catch-22. Like, you kind of need that to happen, because I always looked at it as sex and horror movies as that's a very vulnerable point. How many times in Friday the 13th has someone had sex and then someone got knocked off? Because it's like, you're so occupied with what's going on that you don't hear that this sadistic killer just crept into your room and he's about to tear your head off with his bare hands, and also you've had a couple of scenes in some of your movies where you've done sex scenes. How exactly
A lot.
how do they do something like that for like a movie? Like how like acting wise does something like that work?
You know what? It's really funny because I kind of get a kick out of doing them, mostly because normally like your crew has all the power, but if I come in and I know that I'm doing a nude scene or sex scene, I kind of am like, everyone's like in great respect of what I'm doing. So everyone's really aware, and like for me, I agree. If I'm watching a movie that's kind of a popcorn movie, you're gonna have sex or violence every 15 minutes. I mean, we'd be lying if we didn't say that.
Yeah.
Sexy scenes are fun to watch. It's fun to watch an actress that you haven't seen naked and you're watching her and she's vulnerable, and then it's titillating, and that's what the movies are supposed to be. But basically what happens is it depending, like I have a lot of stipulations and some of them are about vanity. I'm like, I don't really want my ass on camera unless it's like this, so I'm like from the waist up, and most actors have something that they're really comfortable with and they're not. So, and sometimes I'll tell you that after, but basically, because I did have something happen that was really funny. Basically, they, you see the actor that you're working with. Most of the time, he's really cool. And you're making fun of each other. Like, I worked with Randy Wayne, and when I met him, I was like, lucky you. And then we were eating during lunch, and I was eating like corn nuts, like everything that was smelly. So, we're about to do this scene, and you kind of are showing off a little bit in a funny way. And, I'm breathing on him like, so we're having fun. But normally if you're doing something really, really, a lot more nudity, the guy wears like this, they call it a cock sock, but it's really just like this nylon thing that goes over the penis and the balls. So like he looks pathetic. Like the men get it worse than the women because they just look ridiculous. And, they're so nervous about getting turned on or whatever. And for a woman, they have a thing, it's like, they call it a snatch patch, which just literally goes over your vagina and it sticks on. And the problem is it's so hot under the lights, so it's always falling off and you're sliding it up. And but it's like I'm like pretty comfortable with myself being nude. And I kind of, when I watch a movie, I'm like, boobs. But so I have a different opinion of it. I know when I first started doing nudity, my aunt was like, what about Griffin, my son? And I was like, look, I've been to Paris and,
Yeah.
you know, all throughout Europe. Like you go to the beach and everyone's topless. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I don't know if I have like shame or embarrassment on it at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. So yeah. That's,
Well, I mean, look at it like this. Like we have a lot of adult film stars on the program as
Right.
well. And you know, the reason why I asked that is because we know how their scenes work. You know, and I was like, I've never knew how they did it for a movie. Like that's the whole thing. But also it's like, look at it like this, is that they also have kids as well. So, you know, that's the kind of thing. It's like, you know, they were like, well, what would they think? It's like, well, you know, look at that. Like, you know, but the whole thing is it's like, you know, that's what you're doing. That's what your profession, that's what you're being paid, you know, to do.
Has there ever been a scene you had to do that you were uncomfortable with?
well, I'll tell you one thing that happened that was really funny. But I will say that you're right. And they normally, I've known a lot of porn stars, their kids are amazing.
Yeah.
My son is a model and he has done some somewhat provocative shots. But I will say I was in the movie Hanukkah. That was Sid Haig's last movie, and there's a lot of fun names in that movie. And I did, you know, I played PJ Soul's daughter.
Okay.
And I'll give you a spoiler. So at the, you know, I had like a lesbian sort of sex scene that's, you know, kind of goofy. And then I have another one that's also like comedic. But then at the end, my character, who's like your typical bitch in a horror film, Rachel, I'm supposed to be dead on this table, and I have like a, you know, the star, the pentagram of Satan, whatever, carved into my stomach. So they were like, yeah, we're gonna have you have to be fully naked. And I went, I'm not doing full nudity for this. I'm not showing my vagina. Like I haven't done it before. Yeah. And so I made the joke because they were like, well, this doesn't really work. Why would she lay here in underwear and the killer? So I go, well, just CGI it in.
And sure enough, that's what they did.
Well, and the worst part about it is we're at the Man's Chinese Theater, in the biggest theater. So there's like 500 people and it's just gigantic. And so I forgot all about that, but they made it look like a fish. Like it was like and it was so big, like this. It was just like really, and I swear to God, every time I did a Q&A, I embarrassed myself further because I was like, that's not what I look like. It's the CGI. And I think I saw a clip of it on like Pornhub. Like, you know, celebrity Sadie Katz, because they pick up everything and then they you know, write a sensational thing. And I was like, oh my God. So, I mean, it's kind of that to me, I also thought was pretty funny. And I went up to them and went, you guys are the freaking worst. I don't know if I can curse this. I'm like, you guys suck so hard. But they were like laughing. They said, you said, and I'm like, I indeed did say it.
You're like, yes,
better just doing the nude scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I thought about it. But I will say the one thing that's really hard with sex scenes is like, I recently just did like a funny one where you don't see anything, but I'm supposed to be giving the guy a blowjob and his son walks in and catches me like I'm the gold digger. And so I'm like, you know, really far away from him and the camera's here. And I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, going around, and the director goes cut, and we had like a sex coordinator on set, which you normally do if like that, since Me Too. And the sex coordinator comes up to me and goes, I like, it doesn't look like you're giving a blowjob, you're doing a circle. And I was like, oh my God. I don't know why I did that. I wasn't, you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. So there is a little bit of like, when you're doing these scenes, it's kind of funny because you're coordinating with the actor and like, you're really far away from each other.
Yeah. You're trying to do something that's not there.
Yeah. So you're like moving kind of weird and it's going on. Like they film it 1,000 times. And you know, normally most of my sex scenes, I haven't kissed the person. I find kissing way more intimate. Yeah. And it's difficult because if you're supposed to be making out with someone, it's a rule in acting, you don't use your tongue. So that is kind of, to me, if I have like a real makeout scene, I'm more nervous about that than a sex scene because, you know, in the person's space, and it's really hard to kiss and not slip your tongue in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're making out accidentally.
Not just slip it in there.
Has anybody accidentally slipped it in during a scene?
Well, if you watch kissing scenes on, you know, in movies or TV, you'll see they're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're really, I'm kissing my hand now. So they're kind of goofy, and that feels goofy. And if it's a love, like a real love scene, or you're staring at someone in their eyes and kissing, it does do a little bit of like a number, because you got to be in love with that person at that moment.
Yeah.
For that to translate through the camera. If you don't really like the actor, I mean, I don't like a lot of actors. They're just ridiculous people.
I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. Like myself and my co-host, you know, we come from the world of pro wrestling. So, you know, that's the same thing. You know, you need to do that in the ring. It's like you need to convey to all these people that's in a crowd that you really feel that way about that person, you know, and it's just
that's why you have
insane.
the best chemistry with the people who you're actually friends
Yeah,
with.
yeah,
You can trust
you know,
them.
yeah, and I mean, it's just crazy. But what we're going to do real quick is we're going to get into our featured beer, which we debuted last night, which is Sunburst from Heavy Seas Brewing Company. And Sunburst is a sour ale with raspberry and lemon. I think it's we've had a little bit better. I've honestly, I've had this sitting around for a while, and I had one not too long ago, and I've been regretting getting onto this, but I need to get it out of my refrigerator. But Heavy Seas does have a lot of good stuff. I'm not really particularly a big fan of this, but if you want to go out, try Sunburst, there's the pink can right there. Just look for the rising sun with the palm trees on the pink can. And also,
You'll feel a burst of sun.
yeah,
on
we
your
got to
taste
do
buds.
our featured shot, which is, it was sent to us by Sherry Nelson. You may know Sherry. She's also.
I love her.
Yeah, we told her that we wanted to try the Metallica whiskey, so she went out and sent us Blackened whiskey, which is Metallica's whiskey, which is now our featured shot.
And it's called Blackened because Blackened is
yeah.
How rad of her. She's a rad person. She's kind
so
and nice.
So cool.
And
She was
once
so
again,
kind.
we have something
Yeah.
I wish I could drink, but I can't. All the cool stuff comes out after I have to quit.
And she when she came onto the show, like, it was crazy. She got a Happy Hour podcast t-shirt made up to do the show, and I was like, that's crazy. Like, that's insane. Like, you know, I was like, thank you. I was like, that's cool. Like, you know, she really put a lot of dedication into the show. She had all these cool, like, random drinking facts and all that stuff. I'm like, this is absolutely.
Oh my God, boy.
Yeah.
I'm really horrible.
No.
I never even thought to do that. I always think I'm going to send cheers, a thank you card, and I have to tell you, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible person. I forget thank you cards, and it takes me a long time to mail like a headshot, but I eventually get there.
What's funny, like, we send t-shirts to everybody anyway. So, you know, when you're done, make sure
nice.
we'll send you a t-shirt of some kind. We actually have a really cool, if you want one, we have a really cool Halloween one out right now. And it's a spoof of Return of the Living Dead. It's all of our faces on the Return of the Living Dead characters. And it says the Happy Hour podcast on the front. Our artist does a really great job with it. And we can send you one out. And yet again,
then I'll put it on. I'll wear it and put it on social media.
Okay.
No excuse not to do that, which is, you know, great. But boy, I'm not surprised. Sherry has that generosity. I feel like she's given me a gift in the past or something. She's a really nice person.
What we're going to do real quick, we're going to get into our game segment called Ode to Humanity. So what we used to do, and we changed it last night, is we used to play 5-second rule, but 5-second rule got a little easy. So now we're just calling it Name 3, which we sit there and give you a certain category, and you have to name 3 of that category. And it's hard because you're on the spot. So what we're going to do is, Sherry, I want you to name 3 real life serial killers.
Okay. The Night Stalker. Do I have to? Richard Ramirez.
Yes.
Let's see. Who's the guy who skinned everybody? Okay. Hold on. Gosh darn it. Ed Gein.
Ed Gein, yes, he's one.
Who's the crazy clown guy? I won't be able to. Let me think. Oh, the woman. I should say the woman. Charlize Theron played her.
Oh, yes. Oh, what was her name? Oh, I forgot about that.
I don't even know her name. serial killers. There's so many too. When I was a kid in the 80s,
It's funny because when you sit there and
Get a
try to
rush of
process it
them.
off the top of your head, you're just kind of like, oh my God. And the one you were thinking of, the clan killer, is John
Gacy.
Wayne Gacy.
thank you. I should have known that.
Yeah,
And then, okay, we got to get one more in there because I'm kind of pathetic. I didn't get it. It's so funny because if for some reason I keep on saying Charles Manson, but he never actually killed anyone.
Right.
So can I say Susan Atkins? They're not considered.
Also,
serial
Ted
killers.
Bundy.
Ted
Ted Bundy is
Bundy.
one of the more
How can
renowned.
I forget Ted Bundy?
Yeah, there's actually a wrestler that we know very well. He's actually in WWE right now named Joe Gacy. And he based his gimmick there for a while off of John Wayne
Well,
Gacy.
you know what he is
And-
now, though.
Yeah. Oh, now he's the
an
woke.
SJW.
Yeah. He's the woke
He's getting
character
more-
now.
he's getting
And,
more
and
heat
he's
than
in
now.
WWE. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
We
that.
have a serial. What about David? With David, what's his name? Who had them drink the Kool-Aid?
Carradine, David
No,
Carradine, is that what it is?
no,
Was that his
Koresh.
name?
David
Koresh,
Koresh.
David Koresh, yes.
Yeah, but I guess that's not considered a serial killer. Like you have to do it over a stretch of time.
Now here's one that might be a little bit easier for you. Now name 3 horror movie serial killers.
Oh boy, so Jason,
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger. You don't have to say Freddy Krueger. The Leprechaun. I'm trying to name
Nope.
random people. Leprechaun,
Michael Myers,
Michael Myers.
Candyman.
Would
Really?
everybody be considered sort of, if you have a
Yeah.
people, you're a serial killer, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless it's like a haunting type movie or whatever and all that. I figured the horror movie one would be a little bit easier, and the real life one, like that gives you a little bit more thought.
I would've got
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah,
Would that be a
Leatherface, yeah,
serial killer? Yeah.
100%. Which it was kind of based off of Ed Gein
Yeah.
as well. So you know,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
so scary.
And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get into. Have you ever played What Do You Mean?
Well, Ed Gein technically wasn't a serial killer. He only killed one person. He dug up bodies from the graveyard. That
Yeah.
was what it was.
Yeah. Have you ever played What Do You Mean?
No, but I love it already. I love games.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a photo. And what I want you to do is I want you to meme that photo off the top of your head.
Oh my
Think of a
god.
meme for that photo. And this is the photo.
Okay. Biden's second town hall.
Oh,
Right?
if I were to meme this at the point when you do a sex scene, but you don't have to wear the cock sock.
Oh, yeah, I didn't really phrase it right. I was just thinking, I know he was okay. Double fisting. I don't know. Gosh, I have to see like a stack of memes. I like that. Give me another one just for fun.
Well, I don't have any more of those. We always just do one for What Do You Mean. However, we are going to get into incoherent. So incoherent has multiple rounds, which incoherent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up a card and it's going to be in drunken lingo. You need to sound out the card and figure out what it is. There are hints on the back. So if you need a hint, let me know.
Okay.
What do you think?
Cub holes
It says-
mash hut. Cub holes mash hut. The cub is our cub holes mash hut. Cub holes mash hut. Okay, I'll take a hint.
The first hint is all of the feels.
All the come home and mash hut. Damn it. All the feels. God, I'm terrible at this. I love this game though. I feel like once you figure it out, you know it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a second?
The second hint is a great way to spend time with someone without talking or looking at them.
Whoa. A great way to spend time with someone. Cuddle. That doesn't seem like a cuddle.
When you say it, listen, you kind of listen. It's hard, but kind of listen to yourself as you say it and kind of say it fast.
Cuddles. Okay, so I'm gonna say cuddles and mesh hunt. Hutch. Mesh hut. Mesh hut. Cuddles and me slut. Oh, is there one more clue? I'm terrible.
No more clue. However, this is something that you can do. Like you could go on a vacation and have one of these done together.
A massage?
You got the second word.
Oh,
Oh, I know it. I know it.
Yeah.
Hubbles mesh huts. Hutch. Massage. Oh, this is a very drunk person.
I think she's stuck.
It's couples
I was
massage.
gonna say, I knew it.
Yes, couples massage.
Uphold. That was right there too. The B, that's interesting. Do you get better at this game as you go?
Yeah. Some people, it's crazy. Some people get them right like that.
There's
Some
only
people,
been a
yeah.
few people that got 'em,
Yeah,
though. I would say
there's
like 8 out of
only
10
very
times they don't get it.
like Jimmy struggled on like the first two, and then like the ones after that he got immediately. So what do you think this one is?
Mocksuck. Kerberg, Mocksuck. This is a Mocksuck. Sucks. It's my cocksuck.
Do you want a hint?
Yes.
Newsfeed.
Newsfeed. My newsfeed, like Instagram or like, CBS. Let's see. Mock suck. Damn it, mock sucks. Kaberg. Am I like the worst person who's ever played this? Kaberg.
No.
Mob went Kaberg. Mock suck.
Do you want the second hint?
Yes.
Emperor of the digital world.
Oh, so that would be Facebook, right? But
Kind of like the Jeff Bezos of the digital world.
oh, the owner of what's his face? Oh, maybe that's an odd clue. Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes, Mark
Thank
Zuckerberg.
you. I'm like, are they trying to hint at Facebook? Mark, he is kind of a mock cuck, right?
Yes. All right.
Facebook, I'm always like, I'm gonna delete my Facebook, but then I wouldn't know lovely people like you.
And then this is the last one right here. What do you think?
Okay, anal zoothing shell. Anal zoothing shell. Okay, first clue.
First clue is Tushy Lube.
Anal zoothing.
You got the first word.
Anal zoothing. Anal sex. Anal zoothing. Zoothing. Anal soothing.
The second hint is to numb your hole in preparation.
Oh, okay. Anal. Soothing.
Yes.
Soothing. Gel. Anal soothing gel.
There you go. Anal soothing gel. There you go.
Nice. Nice.
The most important part with the game, I love that game. My wife, her cousin gave me that for Christmas. I was like, I need to do this on the show. It's amazing. Like, shout out to Incoherent. It's by the same people who do What Do You Mean? Like, it is great. Like, if you listen to yourself sound it out, like I have a hard time with it. My wife, she gets on like that. I don't understand. Like she just
good at bobble or boggle and scatter or Scrabble.
Yeah,
categories person, but I used to love Exploding Kittens and Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah.
I went through a couple of years of that.
Speaking of which, this segment is called Ode to Humanity.
Yeah, what a lead in, a perfect segment.
So we finish Ode to Humanity with Cards Against Humanity. However, on a podcast form, it's a little bit different. So we started doing it this way, and it's been very successful since we started doing this way. I will read you off the black face card, and then you will have the option between the numbers 1 and 4. And that will answer your card. 1, 2, 3, or 4. You have no idea what the answer is. However, you get one rebuttal. So if you don't like that answer, you can get a rebuttal and choose a different number to answer that card. So the first card is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is blank. Would you like 1, 2, 3, or 4?
3.
3. All right. So 3. 1, 2, 3 to the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is dating a Republican. Are you satisfied with that? Or would you like to have a
Well,
rebuttal?
Curiosity. That is a funny one, although it doesn't really fit the sentence grammatically. So I'm gonna have to do one.
You're
No,
gonna do
four. I'm gonna do four.
You want to do 4? Okay, so 4. So 1, 2 to the 3 and 4, Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is the beautiful backpacks of Jansport.
I,
So,
I just remember wanting. Do you remember when all the girls in school had a backpack and like with the
Yes.
embroidered flowers? You weren't cool unless you had that. The first one is better.
yes, the first one is definitely better. And now we're going to do a second one.
Okay.
LA County Jail, word is that you can trade 200 cigarettes for blank.
Ooh.
1, 2, 3, or 4.
I'm gonna. You know what? 2 is feeling left out. I'm gonna do 2.
2. Okay. So in LA County Jail, word is that you can trade 200 cigarettes for a monkey smoking a cigar.
That's a pretty good one.
Good deal.
That's a good one. That's like I would need that in prison.
Are you satisfied with that, or do you want to
No,
rebut?
I got it. I'll wonder all day. So let's do 4.
4? All right.
Again, did I already do 4? Let's do. No, I did 3. Did 2. I'll do
We'll
2.
do 2.
That was 2, wasn't it?
Okay. In LA County Jail, word is that you can trade 200 cigarettes for a gender identity that can only be conveyed through slam poetry.
Yes.
That'll be useful in prison.
And of course, the cards that were discarded that you didn't get to use for this one was making the penises kiss and reverse cowgirl. And then for the first card was the ones you didn't was a toothless woman gumming a peach and a Native American who solves crimes by going into the spirit world. So yes.
That game is ridiculous. You know, we played it so much that we got the booster packs. And my son's friends would come over and like that was the naughtiest thing. Like, don't tell my mom. I was hooking them up with Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, well, it's great because we got a lot of the booster packs and all that, and like I'll sit there and I'll draw 4 cards. They're all face down. I keep them all face down. I'll be like, boom, go through a couple more, boom, go through a couple more, boom, 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 boom for each one. So a lot of times, like you saw when I read off, I kind of chuckled to myself because I didn't know what some of the other ones were or whatever. But I always tag them in that because I'm trying to get their attention, because I was like, if they can sit there and start airing, because I break these off and use them as separate YouTube clips,
Right.
and all that of people just doing the celebrities doing Cards Against Humanity, and it's fun, like just that game. But I feel like that society now, Cards Against Humanity, like, but it's cool. Like apparently I heard they have like they bought like some sort of island where they have like rescue pets or something like that. I read something the other day that like the money that they used, they bought like some sort of island where they could put like all these like rescue animals or whatever and all that. And they put
they'll be canceled in like 2 months from now. Someone will be like, they'll be reading the card. I mean, even though it's supposed to be super offensive. Yeah. You know what? You guys need to. You're such a game lover. I love games. You guys should create your own game.
Oh yeah.
Like I like your own, like, and try to sell it.
Yeah.
Kind of a fun journey, right?
It should be like a mix of Incoherent and Cards Against Humanity. Like that's the thing. Like you should get the cards, but you have this like drunken quote. Oh, that's it. You can do the drunken quoting. You're saying it in drunkenese. And then you have options of what that could be that you're trying to relay, because that could be fun, especially after you've had a few drinks, of trying to figure out what people are saying. So it's just kind of like you're like, oh, blah, 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 yeah, and then people have options of trying to figure out what that actually is.
Did you see they have the game where you put this thing on your mouth and go?
I have that.
Oh, it's so fun and ridiculous. If you can get people to do it, you're like drooling. It's disgusting.
Have you ever seen the animated show called Wallace and Gromit?
Yes.
I feel like everybody looks like Wallace and Gromit when they put that thing in their mouth, because me and my wife have it. We play it all the time. And I sit there and look at her. I was like, I feel like we're Wallace and Gromit right now, trying to play that game. And like, she'll get mad because we'll be playing it because she'll like describe it. And I can't guess. She'll go, like she'll start yelling at me with like the thing in her mouth because I'm not figuring out what she's saying. And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do?
I'm like that. If I'm playing a game, well, I'm the worst at Monopoly. Like everyone plays Monopoly with me once, and then they're like, I'm never playing with you again. You're mean. But I'm like, this is a game. We're here to win. This isn't. So yeah, even on that game, or the one that, these are kids games, but I kind of love them. I have this idea that I've always wanted to do, which is to have a gambling party like at the house, like a poker night, but instead of poker, to have like, chutes and ladders, but everyone put $100 in the pool, or like operations. So everyone's like standing around the game and it's like high stakes that you have to remove the rib bone. I think it would be so fun because people would actually care about it.
Yeah, what you do, you make it a drinking game, and every time it buzzes, you have to take a drink, or you take a shot. Like you really, we had it way back when, like probably about like 8 or 9. What was it, Psycrotes? Probably about like 10 years ago, we had a TV show that had the same name, but it was called Happy Hour TV, and we used to every year do the 12 shots of Christmas. And each shot would be different. It would be a different shot. Yeah. And there were so many of us that almost died doing that. We did 12 shots of Christmas, which I am considering bringing back for the podcast for me and Matt to do. And then for Easter, we did this thing that was called the Easter egg shots of doom. And what we did is we took the plastic eggs and we stuck random shots in there, and we stuck beer in there. But we also took stuff like cayenne pepper, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup, milk, and all kinds of other stuff. When we put them in the eggs, and you would have to draw 6 random eggs. And whatever those eggs were, you would have to do those shots in continuation. And I saw, so like, imagine that, like you get a shot of Aftershock, then you get like Worcestershire sauce, then you get cayenne pepper, then you get Metallica's Black and Whiskey, then you get milk, then you get, let's say gin, and you have to just
right one after one. Oh,
yes.
Just
no, I'm not coming to any of your holiday parties.
Oh my God.
You don't want to see a 400-pound man blowing cinnamon out of his nose. That was the thing for you.
We did the cinnamon challenge, and I don't know if you remember the show, The Man Show.
I remember the cinnamon challenge.
There was a show called The Man Show where the old guy could just chug his beer straight down because he could open his throat up. We had a friend who could do that. So we did the cinnamon challenge, and he took a whole like scoop of cinnamon, like the kind of scoop you would get out of like protein powder. And he sat there and he was like, oh, gone. And we sat there and for like 10 seconds, we watched the evolution just build up, and his eyes got all teary. His face got all red. And then the next thing you know, I don't know if you've ever seen the old school photos of when they would do seances and ectoplasm would come out of people's. That's what it looked like. He shot out ectoplasm of cinnamon out of his mouth. We were calling him Puff the 400-pound dragon because he was literally crying. He fired cinnamon out of his mouth, and the rest of us couldn't even swallow it, and he literally swallowed, and it went down into his soul and then came
I mean, didn't a kid die or something from that? Like, it was all over the internet.
Yeah.
And then like they were warning kids against cinnamon, which is hilarious and also super scary. Like, things didn't go around before the internet with kids on that level. Like, we were too busy being anorexic and cutting ourselves.
And watching horror movies. We were watching horror movies. That's what it was. Like people being brutally murdered. And I am going to say this. If you decide to watch Halloween Kills, if you like very brutal horror movies, you will enjoy Halloween Kills.
Oh, really?
If you want a horror movie with a storyline, you will not enjoy Halloween Kills. So that's the whole people going back and forth with it. I was like, I love it. Like this was great. Like this was right up.
What Halloween's supposed to be like? Those slasher movies were never supposed to be like about you. Like the best, scariest part is you don't know about the killer. You don't know why he's killing. You don't know anything about it, which is what makes it scary. And then you're there for, it's cheap adrenaline thrills, like going to a theme park. I'm the worst to like a scary theme park. I wouldn't even do it. Like I won't go in a haunted maze. Forget it.
Really?
So you act in horror movies, but you're scared of horror theme parks.
Well, because the crying on cue for me is like if you said let's play hide and seek, like immediately I would be so, like I'm actually, if someone's chasing me and I'm doing a scene in front of everyone, like I can get myself there really fast, like shaking, crying, everything. So I feel so triggered if I go into like a haunted maze or something, because I've already screwed up with my brain enough to have this like quick visceral emotion, and I feel silly with it, and I have a hard time calming down.
So you've done all this stuff in the movies, but in real life, what is your greatest fear?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, I do have, well, obviously like losing someone I love, but let's not get cry here.
Yeah, let's not get crazy now. Yeah.
Let's not get crazy. I have this huge fear of like, if you've seen Black Swan, of doing a film and being in the film. I've almost wanted to write this a bunch of times and asking for help, like begging for help, and people thinking I'm acting, because that to me would be, you experience that a little bit when you're like crying or screaming and you have the crew just standing around watching you, all day. And there's a little bit of that feeling when they go cut and everyone just starts like going about the rest to get ready for the next shot. And I'm like getting up and I'm shaking still. I'm taking deep breaths. So that's a big fear in anything with rats. Fuck rats. Sorry. Sorry.
You look at it like this. We live in Baltimore. There's a lot of rats in Baltimore. A lot of rats in Baltimore. A lot.
I lose it. I think of like being in a small room alone and then a rat coming in. I would literally, I would be so scared. I'll see a rat on a billboard or a possum, and it like gives me the heebie-jeebies, like my skin crawls.
So if she was in Saw, her death would have to do with rats. Like she would have to like get into like a pit of rats or like kill herself with like millions of needles or something like that.
I would rather the needles. Like the rat thing would, when they show rats where their tails are tied and they're moving together.
They do.
In like New York, I saw that and I was like, that is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, hands down.
They did that on Fear Factor one time. They had a chick from Days of Our Lives that plays Sammy Brady. She had to get into a coffin full of rats.
Oh,
and I was
did they bite her?
Yeah.
If that was me, I would be like, just kill me now.
Yeah. It would be like, take your 50 grand piece. Joe Rogan certainly come up in the world, but like
money. I ain't doing that shit.
Yeah.
Not with the rat, not a whole thing. Like, I don't know how you wouldn't be.
She did it though.
Yeah. And we know we're starting to get a little bit short on time. We know you need to go at 2 p.m. your time. So real quick, Sadie, and of course, everybody watching live on YouTube, we are live on YouTube. Everybody make sure you click the subscribe button. You'll be able to see us live with all of our guests. For those of you listening on our audio portion, you only get the 1 hour episode. Anything extra, you guys have to tune into our YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to get all that extra stuff. So
poetry.
Yes, the poetry. You have our Urban Dictionary term of the day on the pre-show and all that fun stuff. And Sadie, real quick, just for our audio version, would you just be able to say this is Sadie Katz and you're listening to the Happy Hour podcast?
Definitely. Right now?
Yeah.
Now.
Whenever you're ready.
Hi, this is Sadie Katz, and you are listening to your Happy Hour podcast.
Awesome. Thank you. And what we're going to
good.
Yeah. It was fine. And we use that going in and out of commercial breaks on the audio version of the podcast. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to get ready to wrap this up so we can let you go because we know you got some stuff coming on. Where can everybody find you online and find all of your movies? Of course, IMDb, everybody go over to IMDb. You can see any movie Sadie's been in. But where can they find you online and connect with you? Do you have any conventions coming up or, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I would say the problem with Facebook is I have too many friends So I feel bad. I'm not rejecting you, but they give you a cat. But please on Instagram, I really do get like my DMs on Instagram. Don't be dirty. I'll repost that. Don't tempt me. But I do actually get to interact on Instagram a lot. I have a Twitter, but I'm not great at it. So Instagram or Facebook, but don't feel bad if I didn't add you. I'll eventually get there. And if you want to send me some mail or ask me for a headshot or autograph, sadiekatz.me. I'll get it to you eventually. And I'm debating if I'm going to be able to do Comic-Con, but I think I'm going to be able to do Comic-Con this year in San Diego. So come say hi to me, for Christ's sake.
And do you do any cosplay when you do the Comic-Con, or do you just go?
No, I just go and sign autographs.
And all?
I'm not a cosplayer. I feel like the people who cosplay are really good at it. So I just go as my own nutty self. Like, surprise.
Yeah, I don't cosplay, but every Halloween, like for example, like we had to do Jimmy yesterday, and then your episode. Normally we would have had you next week if we could have got you next week, but me and my wife are going to Salem, Massachusetts. So all that stuff for the Salem witch trials and all that, she's being a witch, her cousin's being a warlock, and then I'm going to be Michael Myers because they couldn't figure out what they wanted to be. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just ordering the Michael Myers costume. So now it's going to be odd, witch warlock Michael Myers. So, but yeah.
Have you been there before?
No, but
we're looking. It's rad. You won't be disappointed. Yeah. Am I right that there's also a Cheers? No, I'm just mixing that up with Boston. Don't listen to me. I have no idea. But yeah, I really loved it. And I even love like they have this weird remake, or not remake, but they do, the witch trials, but it's like it's statues.
Kind of like a reenactment or whatever. Like
it's a reenactment without actors, so it just lights up like this statue, and there's a recording, but it's really fun. It's really, I love it. Have the best time, and on Halloween, have fun.
Awesome. Yeah, we used to do big Halloween parties every year, and then of course COVID came in, fucked all that up. Like we did one last year. It was mainly just family. Everybody in the family did the whole cast of Schitt's Creek, so we did that. God. Yeah, and then. We were like, do we want to do a Halloween party? And my wife's like, why don't we just travel every year? So we're going to go to we're doing Salem this year. We're going to try to do Sleepy Hollow next year. Then we're going to try to hit like all the the horror movie areas like Haddonfield, all that fun stuff,
How rad. I love that.
But yeah. So anyway, Sadie, we're going to go ahead and let you go ahead and get out of here. So this is going to conclude our weekly audio episode for everybody listening to us on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to us. This is going to conclude our regular episode. For everybody watching us on YouTube, we're going to go a little bit longer. Myself and Psycrotes, we're going to talk about some really fucked up, demeaning stuff like we always do. So, but yeah, anyways, Sadie Katz, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You guys are rad. Thank you for playing games too. I love that.
Oh, no problem. Anytime you want to come on, let us know. We're always open. Or if you know anybody who wants to come on, we're open to anybody from any walk of life to come on the show and bullshit with us and have fun. We always go into it without a script because we're just kind of like, let's just sit down and talk to someone like we actually would if we were at a happy hour. So with Sadie, we're going to go ahead and let you roll.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
All right, so Psycrotes, that went pretty well. Sadie's pretty awesome.
She was very cool.
Very, very cool. And I mean, dude, Salem's gonna be off the chain. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going there. That's awesome. me and Jess are going to Salem. We went to Asheville, North Carolina, which that was fun, which kind of changed their minds on, hey, is living in Maryland kind of compare and contrast? Like, do we still want to live in Maryland anymore? We were out in the mountains and all that stuff. And, and it's funny because we were in Asheville. I could have sworn I saw Brian Laundrie, but he had long hair. And I was like, that can't possibly be him. But apparently they found him. And
he was showing in the swamp.
Yeah, he was showing in the swamp, which his parents clearly murdered him. That's
Why
the
do you
thing.
think his parents murdered him?
Because here's the thing. His parents, their integrity is now damaged. They now have damaged integrity.
Wouldn't you think they would have just turned him in though?
Well, I don't think so. I think they were trying to to hide him as long as possible. And who knows, they could have had a life insurance policy on him or something like that.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know.
young.
The whole
It's
time
possible.
the parents have been super sketch.
Well, I think they knew
this
I think
entire
I think they
time.
probably dropped him off there so they knew where he was.
Yeah.
And then either the elements got him or maybe he killed
Well,
himself. Who knows? Anything
see, it
could
doesn't
happen.
make sense to me because they were like, he's an expert woodsman.
Yeah.
Well, he must not be that much of an expert woodsman if the dude, was found.
I think he may have killed himself.
I'm
'Cause
intrigued.
Either he knew the cops were closing in, or
Yeah.
he just lost
What-
his shit. I mean, who
What I'm
knows?
hoping, apparently they found him with a notebook.
Yeah,
And they
that's
said that
right.
they might be able to, even though it's like wet and all that shit, they might be able to track down
Oh,
what's in that
that'd be
notebook.
interesting.
And I'm hoping that his stuff in the notebook kind of relates to Psycrotes' poetry. Like, that'd be great if it was like one of your poetry books that he like somehow he somehow acquired one of your poetry books. And it's just all this fucked up stuff
Yeah, here's the
that's in
thing.
this.
Some of my stuff was published online. I told you years ago. This was like over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And the dude, I want to say he was like in his early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
So maybe he read my poetry online and he was like 10, and that was what fucked him
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It led him to pull a Chris Benoit years later.
Yeah.
But didn't you also say they found like 9 other bodies when they were looking for him?
Yeah. I don't know if they found him when they were looking for Gabby. I saw something online that they found him when they were looking for Gabby, apparently.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But it might have been like him, they were just doing a manhunt. But when they were looking for her body, apparently they found 9 other bodies.
Were they all like close to her? 'Cause-
I don't know, but everybody's like, why isn't anybody else talking about
Right,
this?
yeah.
Like, what about these people?
Exactly.
Like, so it's weird, but
I think there's still more to the story that we're going to find out.
100.
Especially if that notebook is
100%.
salvageable.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it's either a notebook of weird shit or like it's just like a notebook of him just drawing dicks. Like, it's just a notebook of dicks.
Because that's what
And
you do.
yeah.
When you kill your girlfriend, you're hiding out in the swamp.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
draw a dick.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and just doodle all these dicks.
Like Jesse Jane on Psycrotes' arm.
Yeah. Like, I mean, right here you have the Psycrotes dick. Right here you have the 80-year-old man dick. Right here you have the woman dick, which is for people who switch sexes. So you have the woman dick, and then over here you have the black dick, you have the white dick, you have the Chinese dick. You have all these different kinds of dicks.
The stunt dick that Eric Woodward was a fan of.
You have the herpes dick, you have the AIDS dick, you have the Mike Blair dick. You have just all kinds of these different dicks.
The Mike Blair one is limp because he's got the whiskey dick. And that's why Kim's mad.
And leave it to our after party episode for Psycrotes to start shooting.
Well, you were the one that
Mike
started
while
talking
he's
about
not
dicks.
here.
I mean,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? How did we get from Brian Laundrie drawing dicks to Mike having a limp dick?
I have no idea.
It's kind of just the way the show flows.
That's just
sometimes,
the way the show flows. And of course, as I said before, if anybody's still watching, or if anybody watching on YouTube, this
After
is
that, probably not.
It's our after party. We always try to do 2 hours for our YouTube viewers. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Please head over to our merchandise store and buy some stuff. We don't get paid a dime for doing this. And honestly, I don't care if I get paid a dime for doing this. If you guys enjoy the show, I really appreciate it. We're going to do this no matter what, whether you like it or not. I don't really care.
You're going to hear about Brian Laundrie drawing dicks in the swamp.
But our guests are a bonus. I like to have the guests on and interact with them, and everybody has a great time and says how much fun that they have. And unfortunately it becomes a train wreck quick. So that's just the whole thing.
Depending on your perspective.
Depending on who my co-host is, whether it's Psycrotes or not, things might get really fucked up really quick. So
it's like working a match with me. We go to lock up, and next thing you know, I'm gouging you with a fork. It just happens.
And it's just like, why is this happening to me? Why is this man trying to murder me, like, in the middle of this ring for no reason? Like, this man is treating me the way Brian Laundrie treated Gabby. Like, I don't understand. Why is he seriously choking me? Like, I
got to say this. Brian Laundrie.
Well, maybe
Brian Laundrie.
Maybe he watched when you killed that hooker. Like, he watched you strangle her in your bathroom, and then he watched you bury. But the thing is he didn't have enough time to bury her. Like, he had the heart to strangle her to death, but he didn't have the heart to bury her.
Which is kind of rude. If you're gonna kill your girlfriend, at least bury her.
Yeah,
you know what? Though? I'll give it
at least do a proper funeral or something like that. Like, you know,
Brian Laundrie is more hardcore than Chris Benoit. You know why?
Why is that?
Benoit had to use a phone cord. Brian Laundrie used his fucking hands.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, he's a really lanky guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's the kind of guy that I could probably break him like the way Bane broke Batman in, you know, the Batman movie. So, I mean, I feel like he probably had small guy syndrome. I feel like that, you know, there were so many guys that just wanted to, you know, get with Gabby that, you know, eventually he got jealous.
I think that's what it was. I think he got jealous because she was on social media and she had like 100,000 followers or whatever. And, I mean, you can kind of see that because they were young.
I mean, who knows? She might have had an OnlyFans and told him about the OnlyFans, and then he snapped.
Most hot 22-year-old girls do have an OnlyFans nowadays.
I mean, so shout out to OnlyFans. You know, you guys almost fucked yourselves, but you may also got somebody murdered. So who knows? There may be all those other people that they found dead may have been people that were on OnlyFans that, you know, somebody snapped and ended up going, okay, well, now I'm going to snap you. Like, that's, you know, and I mean, that's the thing, like, you know, it's hilarious because our guests are going to go back, and if they watch this and they see the pre-show and the after party, then they're going to be like, oh man, like, what the fuck? Like, what was I on that show? Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing, like, you know, at least this way with doing the YouTube stuff, we're at least able to do our show, you know, being us, but then we can do our show, you know, with our guests as well. Still somewhat being us, but more of a filtered version of us.
Trying to be semi-professional.
Yeah, you know. But, and I mean, this is the kind of shit you would have got on Patreon, but none of you motherfuckers wanted to subscribe to the Patreon. So now you get it free on YouTube. Yeah. So buy some shirts then. God damn it.
That's right. At least buy some merch.
At least do something. You know, if not, I'm going to send Psycrotes over. And Psycrotes, let me tell you something. Psycrotes is a trained killer. He's murdered a prostitute. We've discussed this numerous times on the show. So if there's anybody looking for a girl named Brittany who's a prostitute, please make sure you call Metro Crime Stoppers today, because if there's a reward, and even though he's standing right here, if there's a reward, I would like to have it. So give me the info and I'll be like, yeah, I know where he lives. Like, I'll take you right there. Like, trust me, I could use the money.
Hold on. Plot twist. What if Brian Laundrie killed her?
Oh.
And then tried to put the heat on the high priest. Because we've all known there's been things that have happened.
How long have we been accusing you of doing that?
That's the thing. At least 10 years.
Okay, at least 10 years. So he's like, what? How old
was he? 23, I think.
So 23. So he would have been 13.
Yeah.
So a 13-year-old Brian Laundrie isn't going to Psycrotes' house and murdering a prostitute and burying her in a shallow grave, which enables Star Trek to find her clothing in your yard. You know, Psycrotes, the evidence is there. It's there. We don't have it anymore. We never put it in an evidence bag. It may have got rained on a half dozen times and got buried a little bit.
Question.
But
do you have a body? Until you got a body, I would plead the fifth.
And of course, also shout out to the Aberdeen Ironbirds, which I am ripping them today.
Yeah,
they did game show night. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to the game show night game, but one of my relatives got me a shirt, Aberdeen Ironbirds hat. If you're ever local in town, make sure one of the things to do, if you want to go over to Bel Air, or actually Aberdeen, Maryland, go over and see the Aberdeen Ironbirds.
I think they won more games than the O's this year.
I think they did. I actually think they did. So they're a minor league athlete for the Baltimore Orioles. Make sure you go check them out.
Minor league games are fun. It's like going to an indie show.
They're great. Well, see, the thing is, the minor league games, they do like a lot of themed things. They'll do like Star Wars night. They'll do like pro wrestling night, and they'll bring in like Ron Simmons or some shit. And like, you know, a lot of major league teams don't do that, or they just recently started to do it. Like, I remember the Orioles, I have the shirt, and they brought in Elias, and it said I'll walk with Elias, but it had Mike Elias on one side and it had Elias, the WWE guy, on the other side.
That's cool.
So speaking of which, whatever happened to Elias?
Well, did you see the promos he did where he burned his guitar?
No.
They did this whole thing. This was like
because I know they have the other guy that does like music and shit now. And I was like,
yeah, they got the guy that's with
they got the new Elias,
who's annoying as fuck. Like that guy, Rick Boogs.
Is that what his name is?
Rick Boogs. Have you ever heard his promo? He says the same thing every time. He says, "I'm Rick Boogs, and I'm here to rock with the Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura." And he says it every time. I'm like, God damn it, Rick Boogs, you're killing me. But no, they did these promos with Elias, right? Like 2 months ago, where he burned his guitar and he's like, I'm done with the music. I got a new purpose. And then you know what they did after that?
Yeah.
Nothing. He hasn't been on TV since.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, their booking is so fucked up right now. Like, I don't know who's booking fucking Raw and SmackDown, but it's terrible. They bring up fucking Karrion Kross, they bring up Keith Lee, guys who you should not miss with. How do you miss with Karrion Kross and Keith Lee? They bring him up. Have you seen Karrion Kross's outfit?
Yes.
He looks like a demolition S&M guy.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah, dude, I
like how a guy who looks like that. And I don't know where Scarlett's at. They haven't even brought Scarlett up with him.
Yeah, like I don't understand.
They said apparently she had a medical issue, but I haven't heard anything else. But then Keith Lee, who now they're calling him Keith. At first, they had him in a tennis skirt. Did you see that?
No.
When he first came up last year, he was still wearing like his singlet. He had like a fucking tennis skirt on. I'm like, you've got a 350-pound black man.
Well, they're calling him Bearcat Lee. But have you ever heard the backstory of Bearcat?
No.
Apparently, Bearcat. There was somebody. Let me look it up.
There was no wrestler named Bearcat, right?
That's who he was based off of. Yeah, he was like the first like African American. Yeah. Like he was inducted into like how they have that like sub wing in the Hall of Fame or whatever. He was inducted into the Legacy wing, and so apparently
was Vince just like watching old tapes one day? He was like, Bearcat, right? That's who Keith Lee should be.
Yeah. He looks like a bear.
He looks like a,
but he moves like a cat.
I can see Vince saying that too. At least he doesn't.
He just brings him in. He's like, look, Keith Lee, come here, come into my office. Look, here's what we're gonna do. We have this idea for you. We're bringing you up to the main roster. Yes, I know. You're very excited. You're very excited for the main roster. But here's what we're gonna do: is you're gonna come in. You're gonna come over. You're gonna be a Monday Night Raw. Yeah, that's right. Monday Night Raw. And what your name's going to be is your name is going to be Bearcat Lee, based off of Bearcat, right? But look, hear me out. You look like a bear. You look like a bear, but you move like a cat. And wait. Before you tell me how excited you are about this, let me tell you this. We're going to have Adam Cole be your manager. Yes, that's right. Adam Cole, because you look like a bear, but he looks like a small man that would be mauled by a bear if he was your manager. Look, Keith, calm down. I know Adam Cole was probably the best all-around worker on this roster. It's going to work, okay? Trust me, all right? We're currently negotiating with him right now to re-sign his deal, and it's going to work. It's going to be Adam Cole and Bearcat Lee. Now get the hell out of my office. You're to report to Raw Monday.
And then you know who Keith Lee's next call was to? Tony Khan. My contract expires January.
Yeah. Now, I know you're hiring all these guys and paying them a ridiculous amount of money, just like how WCW did, to give them all creative control and all that. Oh, wait, you're signing CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Oh, well, you know what? I think I'm going to wait a couple of years because I don't want to be overshadowed by all these other big names you're bringing in. So,
but better than being a Bearcat.
I mean, that's almost like that's the thing. Like they should have him feud with Man Bear Pig. You remember Man Bear Pig? Yeah, from South Park. Like, like just imagine that. Like Hell in a Cell.
Man Bear War Pig.
They should bring us in. They can do the Bearcat and Man Bear Pig versus the War Pigs. And that'd be I
have to give WWE credit though. You know why? Yeah. They had their Saudi Arabia show this week, which I watched.
I heard that went very well.
It did. The crowd was hot as fuck.
Yeah.
The Brock Roman match was really good. The Hell in a Cell was good. But
I heard Goldberg's match was really good.
You know what's amazing? That match went like 12 minutes and it was good. Like you wouldn't picture Goldberg going 12 minutes.
Like I didn't watch it, but I saw photos and it looked like he like speared like Bobby off the stage or whatever. And all that shit.
Like a big table structure.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but I'm going to give him credit though, because they did the Saudi show, and this time they didn't get hijacked on the airplane and have to stay on the runway for 12 hours.
I guess the Saudi prince was very happy with what WWE was putting forward. Though?
Because they have girls matches on the Saudi shows now, but they have to wear the full fucking outfits. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Did you see what they were? Any pictures of the girls match? What they were wearing?
Yes.
They were all wearing like the full body suit with a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, that's great.
Oh, I kind of wish that they would have had him wear the head thing too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
they would have had to. We cannot see your face here. Like that's. But no, I heard that crowd was hot.
It was. Dude,
Like,
the
I
crowd was
literally.
insane. The whole,
I heard
they
the
were
crowd
actually
was
like that the whole
insane.
show too.
Really?
The whole show they were like that. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
I would say, honestly, I would say it was one of the better WWE shows in a while.
Really?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
I like the way they did Brock and Roman because, they're going to keep the belt on Roman for a while because he's hot.
Yeah.
So they kind of did the screw job.
Well, the thing is with Roman, this is the best thing that they've ever done with Roman.
Oh, yeah.
If they would have done this 4 years ago with Roman, if they would have just fucking turned him heel, and I said this a long time ago, if they would have just turned him heel, that's the thing. That it was the same effect. I said before, the same effect Rocky Maivia had. They were booing it, and eventually Rocky Maivia was like, whatever, I'm going to tell these people to go fuck themselves, and he turned him heel, and he turned into the biggest star in the fucking world. Big ass movie, and it's like that's all they had to do with Roman was do that. I don't understand.
Yeah, well, Vince is so stubborn,
Yeah,
he was going to do it, but he was going to wait. I still can't get used to Brock's hair though. Brock's hair is very strange.
Brock does have a very imagine Sable when she's mounting Brock, like looking down and seeing like how they have all those memes of like Brock like going making that face imagine if I feel like Brock can't decide if he wants to have his flat top or if he wants to have long hair.
Yeah.
Like he's just kind of caught in between.
It's basically
however,
top ponytail mohawk.
Yeah. However, the mountain man look that they give him is kind of like the look that Brock should have always.
Yeah, I kind of like it. He's got the beard now, the flannel. But here's the thing: are you going to tell Brock his hair doesn't look good? I'm not.
I don't think anybody's going to ever tell Brock his hair doesn't look good.
I think Pat McAfee has an orgasm now every time Brock comes out. Have you heard how he announces when Brock comes out?
Well, you know how we talked on a pre-show
did you see
about places where you probably shouldn't masturbate?
Yeah.
That's for Pat McAfee.
At the desk next to Michael Cole.
Yeah, right next to Michael Cole.
It was hilarious though, because it's SummerSlam, Roman beats Cena, Brock's music hits, you get the big pop. But Pat McAfee is just like losing his shit. He's like, the alpha male of our species, Brock Lesnar. Yeah. I'm like, Pat McAfee wants to fuck Brock.
He's such a mark. It's insane.
It works though.
Like, yeah. Oh yeah.
He's at least he's excited.
Yeah. And it's hilarious.
You can tell he's a real fan.
Yeah, but the thing is it's kind of like you remember when we went to Legs and you came on that stripper. It's kind of like the same thing, but he came on Michael Cole. That's what it is. Like he's just so vigorously masturbating underneath the table that he just explodes on Michael Cole. Like
who his two favorite people are? Brock and Rick Boogs. He marks for fucking Rick Boogs like that every time too. He jumps up on the table and starts playing air guitar. I'm like okay, I can see.
You know what Brock. They need to do?
But Rick Boogs
for the next WWE themed thing at the Orioles game, they need to bring in Rick Boogs. And then the next thing the camera zooms in on him. And he's standing there with a Boog sandwich, and it shows the Boog sign, and then he just does the whole Rick's Boogs thing and bites into the sandwich.
That's crossover marketing right there.
That's selling right there. And to the Orioles and WWE, you can thank me, and I will send you my address on where to send the check for that idea.
He just comes out, he straps on the guitar as he's eating the sandwich. Yeah. He says, "I'm Rick Boogs."
Yeah,
and I like to eat Boog's barbecue with my best friend Shinsuke Nakamura.
I mean, dude, like Rick Boogs could totally sell Boog's barbecue. And I mean that's the thing. Like just imagine that. Like he comes down and he throws out the first pitch and it says Boog on the back. All the Orioles fans, if they don't know who the fuck he is, they'd be like, he's wearing a Boog jersey, but why does it say Boog instead of Powell?
Why is Boog Powell now a jacked up 20-something-year-old guy with a ponytail? He looks a little different.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Boog never looked like that even when he was that age.
Well, that's the thing. Like I brought up yesterday too, is that there's a scene. Have you seen Terrifier?
I haven't seen it yet.
I don't want to bring it up.
You said it was good though, didn't
but there was a death in that movie that I didn't want. I wasn't sure if I wanted to come or cry when I watched that scene. When you watch it, you'll see it. It should still be on Netflix. If not, you can probably find it.
Is it as good as Kane shoving the phone down the blonde girl's throat and See No Evil?
Almost. It might be. It might be that. It might be that. Have you seen See No Evil 2?
No, I haven't seen 2 yet.
That's good. That has Danielle Harris in it. You know who that is? She's the girl from Halloween.
She was also in the Death Punch video.
Yes, and she also got naked in the Rob Zombie Halloween film, which I really appreciate it. But No, I mean, like that one death scene in that movie. Well, you know it. Put it this way. It includes one of those, like, you ever see like the little metal saw with like the blade that goes this way and it like screws in. It involves that.
Oh, okay.
So when you watch the movie and you see that saw, you know that you'll be like, oh, that's what Chase was talking about. Like, you know, that's what, you know, that's what he meant. Yeah. So go home and watch it. Yeah. And I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed. Blair told me for months when we worked together, make sure you watch Terrifier. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And then finally I watched it. I was like, dude, I finally watched Terrifier. He's like, yeah, I know, fucker. I've been telling you for like a year and a half to fucking watch it. And you just haven't watched it. So, you know, and I mean, I think, you know, to combine the length of that movie is probably about the total amount of time he's actually showed up for the podcast. So, you know, if you were to make the length of that movie. So, but no, I mean, it's
he's
definitely
he's like the Brock Lesnar of Happy Hour podcast.
Yes.
He shows up, you know, he makes a big splash once every, 6 months, then he's gone again. Which is what I did with Brock, because last night on SmackDown he got indefinitely suspended.
Yes. And what's funny is of course, everybody sitting here still following us and watching us on YouTube Live. We will be back again right here live on YouTube, filming episode number 73. This was episode number 72. I'm not sure. It might be 71. I got to look at everything like that. We have so many episodes coming out now, but we are still currently in season 2. We will be back with our rescheduled guest, Soho Johnny, Tuesday, November 2nd at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube Live. I'm off that day. That's the only time we could get the reschedule for. Psycrotes will also be joining me. We will be doing the same thing. 3:30. We will come live with the pregame episode. Then we will go live with Soho Johnny at 4. And then afterwards, we will be joining you for the after game or the after party, show. And, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you buy some merchandise. And one thing that I did want to bring up is, did you hear, and I brought this up to Matt last night. Did you hear about the car chase that they had recently? Like, there was a guy who, like, he robbed somebody in I forgot where he was, but he robbed somebody and he got on 95 and he was a truck driver. So he robbed somebody. He hopped in his truck. Police were chasing him. He's in a semi, like an 18-wheeler, and he drove 8 miles the opposite way on 95.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he drove could you imagine the precision and the skill of that? And the dude, like, just after that, he hopped out and they sent dogs after him. It's like, just imagine that. Like, you're sitting there, like, you get these motherfuckers who are driving on the road, who are terrified of what they're doing, terrified of driving. Most of the time, you know who the bad drivers are, because you'll look over and they'll have a mask over their face, and you're just kind of like, if there's COVID in your car, dude, I have some bad news, Barrett. I have some bad news.
Well,
probably have COVID.
There was a time when COVID first started. That a young lady friend of mine came to my house. And she, I guess she had stopped at the store, like right across the street before she came. And she still had her mask on because she forgot to take it off. So she shows up and she still got the mask on. I'm like, I don't know how you're going to suck dick with that mask on.
Well, it's funny because we went to a place.
And then I killed her and I buried her under the porch.
Nice. It was called La Madame's or something. It was in Columbia. And I picked up Jess and her cousin from Georgetown, D.C. And we went there to eat. It was a French place. And there was these Asian people that sat down next to us. And I swear to fucking Christ, there was this older Asian lady that was wearing her mask on her face. And she fucking, like, she went to go eat. She literally stabbed her fucking food with her fork. She got it up to her mask. And then she's like, oh, and took her mask off. I was like, I would have paid great money to watch her eat that entire meal with that mask on her face.
That'd be some skill right there.
Yeah. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, what the hell is this? And of course, also shout out to Steve Freeman. He does all of our logo work. He did an amazing job on our spoof of Return of the Living Dead for our current Halloween stuff. He does all of our logo work. He has something coming up. I believe it's November 27th at Marsky Bar. Marsky Bar wants us to come out and do an exclusive episode there. So I may reach out to Bob Starr, reach out to some of our local friends.
We gotta get Bob. I love Bob.
See if we can do. And then also coming up, we're going to do
one. Not to cut you off, but one Asian person who wouldn't do that because he's too smart. He wouldn't wear his mask and try to eat at the same time. You know who that is?
Who's that?
Shinsuke Nakamura.
And
God damn it, Rick Boogs.
and what we're gonna do is heading into 2022 and Psycrotes, I'm not sure if I told you this, but we're gonna, along with our monthly fully fermented series, which is our vintage episodes from Happy Hour TV, what we're gonna do is we're gonna introduce 2 new, if possible, whenever we can, 2 new sub shows, which is going to be the Happy Hour podcast roundtable, which a lot of people have been talking about. And that's when I'm going to try to get Nick Benson, Mick Strawn, and D Wallace all together and do a roundtable with them. And then we're also going to release the Happy Hour podcast Strange Bedfellows, in which we take 2 guests who have absolutely nothing in common and put them together on an episode.
That's kind of what we did on the 1-year anniversary show.
Yeah,
we just had a bunch of random people.
Yeah, we had just a bunch of random people that had nothing to do with each other. And
there was as much of a train wreck as you'd expect.
Yes, and make sure also, guys, make sure you go check out our friends, Tommy Simbazo, Eric Woodworth. Also, shout out to Justin Schlegel, Ashley Pontius, all of our local comedian friends. If you are in our area, make sure you go see them live. They always help out here on the Happy Hour podcast. I love all of them. They're all great. You can see Tommy and Eric actually on that t-shirt that we mentioned just recently. Make sure you go check them out. And I think what we're going to go ahead and do is we went a good while. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our after game episode, our after party. I don't know why I keep on calling it after game, but of course, I had that shot and that beer, and I can't drink half as well as I used to anymore. That
shot blackened you.
Oh, that shot was so powerful for me that Psycrotes felt it. That's the way it was. But yeah, make sure you check out all of our content, hit subscribe. Thank you once again for tuning in to not only our pregame, the main show, and the after party right here on YouTube Live. Make sure you check out all of our content. We know 2 hours is a lot to shuffle through, and we know no one actually watches the 2 hours full straight through. They probably just skip here and there, just like how most people watch porn. So, but anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us right here on the Happy Hour podcast and the Happy Hour podcast after party. Of course, I'm Ray for Psycrotes. We will see you guys on November 2nd, right here live on YouTube Live. All right, so that's it.